I heard Asia Wilson, Sha'Carri, Sabrina, Sabalenka. Oh, that's right. I didn't hear Caitlin Clark's name. That's why we don't jump for joy when Nike does one good thing. Oh, one good thing. Nike's Nike at the end of it. There's a reason why their stock has been...
Nike fumbled again, and Caitlin Clark fans are livid. In their latest ad, Nike somehow snubbed one of basketball's biggest stars. Not once, but twice. Fans are roasting them, questioning if it's ignorance or something personal. How does one of the world's top sports brands keep overlooking Clark, especially at the peak of her stardom? Social media is on fire, dragging Nike for the disrespect. Was this a mistake, or is there a bigger story? Either way, it's a marketing disaster.
Now with Nike, they're listing out the names of this. And of course, who do they ignore? The number 22 out of India.
Nike really did it again. They dropped a major WNBA ad right after the Super Bowl. Huge moment, primetime exposure. Yet somehow, they left out Caitlin Clark, the biggest name in women's basketball. Fans are furious, calling it a massive miss. How does this keep happening?
Nike put out how they really feel about Miss Clark. Let's take a look.
You want to know what I'm selling? I'm selling greatness. Asia Wilson, 3-time MVP. We got Jordan Childs, we got Juju Watkins, we got Sha'Carri Richardson.
Okay.
And we got Arena Sabalenka.
Champion.
Hustling is not easy, but I love it. Sabrina, I know you want it.
Let's talk about who made the cut. Sabrina Ionescu, solid. Juju Watkins, promising. Aja Wilson? Of course she's Nike's golden child. But Caitlin Clark? Nowhere to be found. It's actually crazy. Let's look at the facts. Clark is the biggest reason women's basketball is getting this much attention. She's shattering records, drawing NBA-level viewership, and carrying the sport to new heights. Yet somehow Nike forgot her? Fans aren't buying it. Whether it's a mistake or something more, leaving Clark out is a massive marketing blunder.
Stood out among the Caitlin Clark fan base is them not mentioning Caitlin Clark's name at all in this whole damn ad. Now, one person said, why wasn't Caitlin Clark's name said? Another person said, they don't say Caitlin Clark's name in this.
This isn't the first time Nike has done Caitlin Clark dirty. They keep treating her like just another player when, in reality, she is women's basketball right now. Meanwhile, Juju Watkins, an exciting young talent no doubt, is getting major Nike promo despite being early in her career and nowhere near Clark's historic impact. And don't even get me started on Aja Wilson. Nike constantly pushes her as the face of the WNBA, and while she's a great player, she's not driving the same level of attention as Clark. The numbers don't lie. Clark is breaking records and bringing unprecedented viewership to the game. Yet Nike keeps acting like she doesn't exist. Fans aren't having it.
Promoted her more in college than they have at all the entirety of the WNBA season. She signed an 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike that also included her own signature shoe, which honestly, looking at it now, $28 million for 8 years is an absolute steal for this superstar.
The Fever's games are selling out everywhere. Fans are camping outside arenas just to see Caitlin Clark. When was the last time an Aces road game had this kind of hype? Nike really thought they could get away with this one, that fans wouldn't notice. They tossed in a few names, slapped some highlights together, and called it a day. But nah, we care. This is like dropping a 90s NBA ad without Michael Jordan or an NFL promo that forgets Patrick Mahomes. Clark isn't just another player, she is the moment. She's inspiring little girls to pick up basketballs, grown men to buy her jerseys, and entire networks to rearrange schedules for her. Nike's decision to leave her out isn't just a snub, it's a massive mistake.
How dare you put out a commercial with Caitlin Clark's merchandise saying everyone's name but Caitlin Clark? My dad could watch that commercial 75 times, he will only know Sabalenka's name. My wife will watch that commercial 75 times and she'll say, they're really gonna show Caitlin Clark's shirt and not mention her name? Oh, that's kind of weird.
Yet somehow, Nike, one of the biggest sports brands in the world, decided Caitlin Clark wasn't worth a spot in their new campaign. Make it make sense, because it doesn't. At this point, Nike just needs to admit they have a Caitlin Clark agenda. Just say it. Yeah, we're weirdly committed to keeping Clark out of our campaigns because we'd rather push our hand-picked stars. Just be honest. But here's the thing. The fans aren't dumb. We see it. We see the nonsense. And if Nike doesn't want to embrace Caitlin Clark, that's fine. Somebody else will. When her jersey sales skyrocket, when her WNBA games shatter records, and when she becomes the biggest name in basketball period, just remember, Nike had the chance to get it right, and they fumbled again.
Nike has decided to release a congratulations to Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year shirt in what I think could be possibly the worst designed t-shirt in Nike corporate history. No, but look at this. I've worked with designers before. Like, this is bad. It looks like they had some intern just like quickly mock something up in like PixArt, but really, they put the Nike swoosh in the middle of the O sort of thing, like overlapping.
I don't know if Nike executives live under a rock or if they just enjoy making terrible business decisions for fun. The players they featured in the ad? Great talents, no doubt. But do they sell out every arena they step into? Do they have TV ratings skyrocketing like Caitlin Clark? Have they single-handedly made people who never watch the WNBA suddenly care? Absolutely not. So why is Nike acting like Clark is just some random bench player? At this point, it feels like they're allergic to good marketing. Clark's jerseys instantly sell out. Her games are packed. Her impact is historic. And yet, Nike chooses to promote players who don't move the needle like she does. Who does that? Let's be real. Nike has been shady toward Clark for a while. They're throwing endorsement deals at players who couldn't sell out a high school gym while pretending the most marketable athlete in women's basketball doesn't exist. Nike could be printing money off Caitlin Clark merch, but instead, they'd rather push players no one is checking for. Genius strategy, right? The way they're fumbling this, their marketing team might need to go back to school.
Sales, and we've talked viewership. Now let's talk about regular season viewership, not draft viewership. Regular season viewership, it grew by 20% in 2023. It's grown by 180% now, which means it would take another 5 or 6 years to do what Caitlin Clark has done. So between draft day viewership, which is up 400% to 40%, between ticket sales, which is up 93% to 16%, between regular game viewership, which is up 180% to...
Imagine if Nike ran the NBA back in the day. LeBron James? Nah, let's focus on the guy averaging 6 points per game instead. That's exactly how they're treating Caitlin Clark. Meanwhile, Under Armour and Adidas are just sitting back, watching Nike fumble the bag. Go ahead, keep ignoring her. Someone else will sign her and cash in. And let's talk about the excuses. But Caitlin hasn't signed with Nike. Well, why would she? Why join a company that acts like she doesn't exist? That's like showing up to a party where the host pretends you weren't invited. Nike wants credit for pushing other players, like they're making some grand social justice statement, but in reality, they're just being petty. Let's call it what it is. Nike is mad that Caitlin Clark doesn't need them. She doesn't need their hype machine. She doesn't need their forced activism. And she definitely doesn't need to beg for their recognition. Nike had a golden opportunity to embrace the biggest name in women's basketball, and instead, they're out here making one of the worst marketing blunders in years.
As far as the shoe deal goes, there doesn't seem to be one in sight just yet. And timing is everything. Like, who knows what's going to happen with the new rookie class coming in? Paige Beckers, Kiki Ariaffin.
Nike really thought they had us fooled with that Super Bowl ad. Like we were just going to sit there wide-eyed and say, wow, look at Nike supporting the WNBA. How nice. Nope. We saw that ad, hit pause, rewound, squinted at the screen, and said, Hold up, where's Caitlin Clark? And yeah, she was in there for about 3.5 seconds. Maybe 4 if you count the frame where she blinked. Nike really tried to act like we wouldn't notice that the biggest name in women's basketball was barely featured, while they rolled out the red carpet for other players. Be serious. Caitlin Clark could sneeze and sell more jerseys than half the league combined, yet they had her in the ad like a background extra. Let's be real. If you put an Aja Wilson jersey next to a Caitlin Clark jersey, one is going to collect dust while the other sells out so fast it crashes Nike's website. And this isn't just about Aja Wilson. Compare Clark's sales to any WNBA player. There's a reason fever tickets are suddenly going for Super Bowl prices. There's a reason people who never watched a WNBA game before are tuning in like it's a must-see event. Spoiler alert, that reason is wearing number 22 in Indiana. Nike had a golden opportunity to capitalize on the biggest star in women's basketball, and instead, they fumbled again.
This has been called the biggest marketing fumble in history. And I mentioned in a previous video, I did work for marketing agencies, and I worked for an agency where Nike was our client. So I know how on top of things that Nike is. And this is one of those things that I personally just did not understand, because the excuse was that it takes all this time. And I do understand how it takes time, but LeBron James, he had his shoe in his rookie year. Steph Curry with Under Armour, he had his shoe, I think within a year. So I'm not sure what the
Oh, Nike. Sitting in the back room like, should we promote the player bringing the most eyes to the league? Or should we keep pushing the same people who've been on our payroll for years? Decisions. This is the same Nike that made jerseys for a 2K My Player before making one for Caitlin Clark. Some virtual dude named Jamal Buckets got a signature jersey before the most marketable player in women's basketball history. Nike really thinks they're slick with the whole, we support the WNBA narrative. No, you support certain WNBA players, the ones who fit your agenda. You know what Nike reminds me of? That one teacher in school who says they don't have favorites but clearly lets some kids get away with everything while giving others detention for blinking too loud. That's Nike. If Nike were a restaurant, they'd serve a 5-star meal to some players, but if Caitlin Clark walked in, they'd hand her a Lunchables and tell her to be grateful. Now, let's talk jersey sales. If Nike dropped a Caitlin Clark jersey right now, it would sell out in milliseconds. The website would crash. Bots would be fighting each other in checkout. Some guy in his mom's basement would be flipping them on eBay for $600 a pop. Meanwhile, they could be giving away some of these other jerseys for free, and people would still be like, nah, I'm good. I'll take a Caitlin Clark one, though.
Young lady who goes out there and performs at the highest level and is a conscientious observer and a conscientious participant in helping to make women's basketball better for everybody. She didn't have to do those things, but she's done those things, which is further evidence that her heart has always been in the right place, and people who were looking for an excuse to denigrate her.
And Nike knows this. Oh, they know. They just don't want to admit it, because that would mean accepting that their little, we decide who the face of the WNBA is, plan has completely flopped. They tried to manufacture stars instead of letting the fans decide. And guess what? The fans have decided. The verdict is in, and her name is Caitlin Clark. So Nike, do yourselves a favor. Get it together. You have a generational superstar sitting right in front of you, and you're treating her like a side character in her own movie. If you don't want the money, just say that. Because Adidas, Under Armour, and every other brand with common sense are probably sitting there like, oh, word? You don't want to cash in on the biggest name in women's basketball? Bet, we'll take her. At this point, Caitlin should just start her own brand. Call it Star 2, 2-Star. Simple, classic, timeless. And you know what? It would outsell Nike's entire WNBA line in a single weekend.
Other commercial look 24 hours later and not even mention her name. The level of disrespect is at an all-time high. I wish Caitlin nothing but the best, and I I don't want to believe it's Nike, man. I really, really don't want to believe it's Nike, the brand. I want to believe it's the people that work.
The funniest part? The disrespect just does not stop. Caitlin Clark could drop 60 points, cure world hunger, and dunk on Shaq in his prime, and folks would still find a way to downplay it. But guess what? The Indiana Fever have been cooking this offseason, and when Caitlin steps on that court, it's over for the haters. Well, shame, I guess. This season, Clark is walking in with a squad that's ready. DeWanna Bonner? Certified bucket. She pulled up like, "Oh, y'all were trying to double-team Caitlin? That's cute. I'm here now." Kelsey Mitchell? One of the coldest scorers in the league? And Sophie Cunningham? Oh, she's suiting up like a Secret Service agent, ready to go full bodyguard mode for Caitlin. Anyone tries to get physical? Boom. Sophie's already there, like, not today.
Last times that Nike has done anything for Caitlin Clark. They promoted her more in college than they have at all the entirety of the WNBA season. She signed an 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike that also included her own signature shoe, which honestly, looking at it now, $28 million for 8 years is an absolute steal for this superstar. When a player like Wemby's Nike deal was rumored to be over $100.
Here's the billion-dollar question. When Caitlin Clark is out there dominating the WNBA, selling out arenas, shattering records, and making the league must-watch TVI, is Nike still going to act like she doesn't exist? Because at this point, they're moving like they'd rather take an L than admit they fumbled the biggest star in women's basketball. She's pulling NBA-level viewership, driving merch sales through the roof, and bringing in new fans every day. Yet, Nike keeps acting like she's just another player. Be serious. If Caitlin Clark wins MVP, leads the Fever to a championship, and keeps breaking records, will Nike finally acknowledge what everyone else already knows? Or will they keep pushing their own agenda, pretending their hand-picked stars are carrying the league, while the actual face of women's basketball keeps winning without them? Because at this rate, Caitlin Clark doesn't need Nike. Nike needs her.
That report, they said that we won't see a Caitlin Clark shoe until 2026 or 2027. That's Caitlin's 3rd or 4th season in the WNBA. LeBron had his shoe his first season. Wemby already has his shoe. I just can't get over how big of a fumble.
But it's fine because Caitlin Clark's game is about to be so undeniable this season that even her biggest critics will have no choice but to shut up. The Fever are coming for everybody this year. And when Caitlin is holding up that MVP trophy, I just want to hear what the excuses will be then. Oh, and when she wins a championship, the meltdown is going to be beautiful. And Nike, if y'all are smart, you better start designing those MVP-themed sneakers now. Because the Caitlin Clark era? Yeah, it's officially here. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.